All right. Welcome back to another live clinic. My name is Coach Chris Haddad. We have Coach Ryan Swingle on as well. And our guest tonight is Coach Nick Davis, the defensive coordinator at Rose-Hulman. Coach, appreciate you taking the time and to come out with us, talk a little bit about pass stunts to implement into your defense.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And what we're going to do tonight, Coach, and while you're sharing your screen, I'll just give a little bit introduction about you and about Victory. So to start with Victory, we're a football education platform for coaches to help their players learn more about the game. So if you check out our website, victorysports.com, and a little bit about Coach, as mentioned, he's the defensive coordinator at Rose-Hulman. Coach, also at Spread Defense, if I'm not mistaken, is his defense Twitter. We highly recommend you go check it out. He posts clips, does live clinics as well, like you're seeing here with individualized clips. Coach, do you mind talking a little bit about Spread Defense before you get going with your clinic?
Yeah, so what we did was, we tried to brand a little bit to get it exciting for our kids, but our defense, we call it the Spread Defense. So we play with like a traditional spread offense is going to have that hybrid Y guy that can be an extended wide receiver, a sniffer, a fullback, kind of on the ball tight end. Well, our Bob linebacker is that guy for us. We can put them kind of all across the field. And I actually coached offense for the first 3 years here at Rose-Hulman. So I learned what all offensive coaches hated. And when I became the defensive coordinator here, I wanted to do everything they hated plus more. So I have my personal Twitter, so recruits can kind of follow, and then high school coaches, like if you don't want to see all the recruiting, all the offers and all that stuff, go to @Spread Defense, and you're just going to see only really defense. And I reshare or retweet anything I see out on the web from defensive coaches. So you're going to get a great resource if you're following everyone in the country that has defense. If you go to @Spread Defense, you're going to kind of see it all every day. So this is my contact information. That's my cell phone, my email. Again, my two Twitters. You can get at me at Coach Nick Davis is the best way to DM me. I believe I have the @Spread Defense turned off just so I'm not getting bombarded by direct messages on two different accounts. Plus, I run our school's Twitter as well. So I'm going to get started. Tonight, we're going to talk about our best pass stunt. So for us, and it's nothing crazy. Everyone in the country does this, but our best pass stunt in the last 5 years has been a interior penetrator and an outside looper. Okay, and we'll get to it from a few different fronts. First, you're going to see 4 down. Then you're going to see how we do it out of our 5 down front. You'll see how we do it out of a 3 down front, and you're going to see how we do it out of a 6 down front. So that is what we'll be talking about. That's what I'm going to show you. We're going to have some good examples on one side, some bad examples on other sides, but most of these clips we're going to affect the quarterback, whether it be a sack or a incomplete and hitting the QB. So we've led the nation actually in sacks the last 4 years, and this is one big reason why. So we'll get started. So first, what we're going to do is we'll probably play double 3 techniques and run situations more than any team in the country, I think. And that sets up this stunt perfectly because we are going to do, all right, the inside guy is the penetrator. And their key here is what we first tell them is once they're out of their stance, they're going to chop, all right, that offensive lineman's hand, all right, chop it down, and then they're going to rip up. So if the offensive lineman were to put his hands on that guy when we chop, okay, and we broke those hands, he's probably going to replace his hands. The rip up, all right, makes him replace his hands for a 3rd time. And we felt like if we got that offensive lineman worried about replacing his hands 3 times, now he's not going to be able to handle the looper coming tight around. So what we teach is a chop rip. Once you do that, you post your outside hand on this tackle shoulder and then work vertical. Some people are so worried about you have to be a C-gap contained. If you post on this tackle, all right, and you've worked vertical, you can be a B-gap rusher and contain the quarterback because everyone knows if you're behind the hip, that guy's not going to be able to block you. So we'll just play it. Everyone's seen this stunt. Here's a pretty decent example. Here's a bad example of a kid that wasn't great at it. It's also not going to be very good to a slide side. To a man side, it's going to be a lot better. So 64 isn't necessarily great, but he gets off the ball. He targets the guard. I am being picky. I would want 91 to be a little bit more upfield, but then scrape paint. So you'll see on our clips a lot of times our D lineman clubbing, the 3 technique through, the penetrator through, clubbing and either arm over in that guy or ripping kind of tight off his butt. And we're able to get the sack right there. And then obviously, again, not great to the slide, but the one thing I've learned to the slide side, and you'll see it out of a few other clips, is you can put this center in conflict a little bit by head fakes and club and rips and some different things. So here's a little bit better. So that was us in 2015 with a new D-line coach teaching a bunch of guys the new stunt. Here is us in 2019, all right? We're on a 3rd defensive line coach. So over the last 5 years, I've had 3 different coaches, but this stunt has really stayed the same. They've all taught it pretty similar. All right, but now we have kids. This is 2 kids over here on the left side are 4-year players in our system. And then on the right side, we actually have 2 guys, a freshman and then a sophomore for us. But you can see 51 going for the chop rip. And these O-linemen know it's coming. But the nice thing is when this guy shoves him because they know the twist is coming, and 51 right here, you can see with his hand, post on that tackle, no one can block him. Now the key is 52 coming nice and tight. We talk about getting off the ball 1, 2, 3 vertical upfield, so he kind of cuts it short and then come underneath. And then this is what I'm talking about on the outside. So this is a freshman, so he's got to get better. All right, so 54 is not going to be great because he's chop ripping into the slide. But you can see him arm over, all right, 59, which creates that space. But what we talk about with 43 is this guy is the end of the rope, all right, of the slide side. So put this dude in conflict. Give him a head fake over here or a head fake over here. If you just bully him, you allow him to do what he wants, all right, to zero in. So use his rule against his advantage. He can't let you go across here. So put the fear in God that you're going to go over here and then club, all right, rip by him, or head fake here in the A and then club arm over, all right, across his body. But for us, the penetrator has been the guy that has got most of the sacks because of this post right here. And this post really happens because you got to have a dude that's got some speed to get off the ball to get this guy to kick a little bit to get that separation. Like this dude's doing pretty much everything his offensive lineman probably told him, or offensive line coach told him to do, but that post gets us through. And the one thing you'll see on this film is there is a lot of 6-man protection in these passing situations against our 4-man rush. So we're keeping the tailback in too, which is good.
Hey, Coach, we had a question come through here. When you talk about the post, can you the question was, can you talk about the post? What's he aiming for and what's he trying to get his hands on before he slides through?
Yep. So right here, all right, he's posting on this outside shoulder peck, all right, of this guy. So that is his aiming point, is the shoulder pad. So we're chop rip. As soon as, you know, he's pretty quick on it. And this team's probably figured out that we're running the stunt because we're doing the chop and rick. But what has been nice, what I think, is this guy was ready, and he actually does the job for us. He pinballs my own guy, all right, which gives him some momentum. He posts on that shoulder, and that, I don't know the physics law my kids would because they're all 30 ACT engineers. That physics is actually going to drive my guy vertical up the field. So we aim for the shoulder pad. So as you're going through it, all right, you're going to see like this kid, all right, aiming for that shoulder, but that shoulder goes low, so he arm overs it. He's got to keep his balance on the other side, but again, going to be pretty good against the man side, not going to be great against the slide. Now, if you don't know the man or the slide side, get in bear, okay? So this is a 4th and 5 situation, so we're in a bear front. And these guys, for me, are linebackers. So that's a linebacker, that's a linebacker. This kid is not very good at the stunt. This kid is a lot better at the stunt. But when we want to run this out of the bear, we will bull rush the center. We'll also tap the center and drop. All right, and we'll sub that guy generally to be a better coverage defensive lineman if we were going to drop him, or it could be a linebacker. But we know for the most part is you're either going to full slide or you're going to go big on big against the bear front. So right now we get the double, all right, 4 one-on-ones. Really, we're 5 on one-on-ones that we want. So you're going to see boom, chop, rip right here, post, okay? He goes to post and that guy's disappeared. Well, then continue to just get vertical because when the 5 technique comes underneath and scrapes paint, he's going to get the sack. You can see they're keeping 6 dudes in. Now, over on this side, we get the chop, rip. You can see the rip. He's posted. If this guy was fast off the ball, all right, maybe he thinks it's run on 4th and 5. I don't know. He just wasn't a great rusher, but he's got to sell the fear in God that he's going to get vertical and then scrape paint. And this guy, because the tailback went there, he's going to have the oh woo, all right, clean up the quarterback. Instead, because he doesn't run it great, all right, and we didn't necessarily personnel it great, maybe we should have had a different – he should have been the bull rushing, and we should have put our D lineman as a 5. But we're creating a lot of havoc. And then what we'll talk to our kids is the inside penetrator, all right, has the back of the shoulder or the cue, all right. The looper has got the front shoulder pack of the quarterback. And then obviously if we're bringing a 5th guy, he's head up. And they're all going to meet at the quarterback. So here is just the one side doing it. And this is actually a natural stunt. This is not called. But what our kids have learned over the years is the 5 technique kind of feels that 3 technique. If he's vertical and he feels that he's vertical past the tackle, we will naturally run this stunt. And our kids are pretty good at just naturally understanding, okay, my 3 technique is vertical. He's ahead of the tackle. I'll naturally stunt. And they'll make a cop call just to let everybody know, like, hey, I went inside. And we get a nice sack there on a natural. So here we were in a 5 down front, and we were looking at the quarterback's cadence for the indicator, and then we actually dropped out of it because it's 3rd and 10, and his pass responsibility told him that he needed to drop out. But our man side is going to be over here to this side. So let's look at it. Boom, chop. All right, rip. He needs to be a little bit lower, but there's the post. At this point, my outside guy is vertical up the field. Well, and he false steps, or he'd be even better. All right, 1, 2, 3. Now coming nice and tight underneath. All right, scraping paint. And these 2 ended up on the sack on this side. Now, on the other side, we were just running a normal rush. They were faking the Italy. Our kids aren't very good at the fake portion of it. They were trying to make it look like a fake Italy stunt that we call this, and not very good. But it's also not going to be very good to the slide side.
So, Coach, and when we're talking about game planning purposes and for the coaches watching, in this clip in particular, your game plan going into this, you noticed that they were going to man opposite the back. Is that how you looked at it, or is there a different aspect, the way you looked at it when you were studying the line slide?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for us is in the double threes, if we called on both sides. Now, these kids had the option to call the fake. That's why we like the double threes, because regardless, I'm going to get it right no matter what to the man side. But all right, I thought probably in the game process that we identified this being the man side, and I put my best 2 guys to run the stunt over here. So that's kind of the thought process. If I was wrong, and that offensive coordinator, you know, he gets paid too, and they're pretty good, and this was the man side, then we're running still a stunt over here, and we feel like that will be good. But yes, game plan wise, I want to put my best 2 guys at the stunt against maybe the side I think for sure is going to be the man side, or maybe the best or the worst pass protection side.
Mm-hmm.
Here we I'll go the wide. We lost the end zone shot there, but here it is again. And this is our young kids at an end of a game, 4th quarter. We're up and we're trying to close out 1st and 10, and they're still trying to chuck the ball around. So here's a good example of 41 not getting vertical and not necessarily being super tight. Here's a good example of a bad example of we're not getting the chop rip. And then this kid not understanding the stunt over there, but still All right. At the end of the day, you get a two-man twist on the man side. You can create a lot of havoc. All right, so here it is going to be on both sides again. And now we can run it out of a 2-eye. We can run it out of double 2-eyes. But again, we like it out of the double 3s. And what makes this all work is we'll play double 3s on first down. We're going to play double 3s on second down. We love the double 3s against the zone. Now, if you're going to be under center and you're going to run Q sneak every time, then yeah, we're not going to be in double 3s. But we stem a bunch. We're 50% 4 down, 50% 3 down. So we have some things to kind of hide our tendencies. But here we go again. The man side is going to be on this side. There's the chop. All right, there's the rip. And now you don't need to post if that guy has disappeared. In this case, that guy disappeared. So this guy's vertical upfield. He's coming underneath. This side, we get the chop rip. We're coming. All right. Now, this is a great opportunity to keep coming. I think he realized that he was to the slide side and he slowed down a little bit. Not always is that center going to be like, oh, there's no one in the A. Go find work. Great. Well, we're coming. And we just got to finish. This quarterback was 6'6" and flung out that pass for a -6 yards late in the game. If we could have finished there, this team ended up beating us. They're down 5. It is 2nd and 7. Under 2 minutes. If we get a sack there, they got to use their timeout, and we're in a little better situation. So we got to finish. So here is we're going to run it just over here to the 3 side, and this is actually our nose guard, and this is one of the better clips. So there's the chop, the rip, the post, and then this is the nice thing about this whole thing that we do is that this kid is a linebacker. And this kid should be the fastest kid in your box, the best pass rush moves. Like this makes everything work because him getting vertical, all right, makes this guy scared because now he's going against a 190-pound fast linebacker. So there's the chop rip post, all right. And because that kid led our conference in sacks and led our team in sacks, he gets double teamed. And now my 3 technique is open, all right? And he takes literally the offensive lineman and throws him into the quarterback. It's one of my favorite sacks of all time. And then away to this other side, we're just a normal rush. But I really think the key is the post and having speed. So if you got a good post and you're not scared and thinking that you have to have a C-gap contained guy, you can contain through the B-gap. And you get this guy vertical to scare this guy, and then he comes tight underneath. That is the key. So let's go over here. We're in our double 3 techniques again. We're getting the man side over here. So chop, rip, post. They're keeping 6 in to protect our 4. Here's a little shimmy on the running back. This kid was pretty good. He swears, coach, that he saw the quarterback's hand off the ball. That's why he jumped. But in this regard, like maybe it was good that he jumped. He's getting ready to get pow drove. But now the penetrator gets through. The penetrator has been the guy that has been the best guy. And it's just if you teach your kids, like if you sacrifice, boom, chop, rip, getting, shoved. And if you post, it's going to pay off if your outside guy is putting fear in God of that tackle. And number 30 actually led the nation in sacks for us that year. So we're getting it on both sides again. Actually, excuse me, we're just getting over here. So here is to the right side. This kid wasn't very good. He thinks, I got to go pick the tackle. Well, that's not necessarily good. Chop, rip, get 61 tans down, make him think anything. And then the best benefit of this has been that we'll just straight rush, and this kid comes off with a chop, and these O-linemen think we're running a twist, so they communicate, and then 71 comes here, and our 5 technique is unblocked. Again, the penetrator, all right, it's not great, but he's the guy that's affecting the play. There in the 4th quarter. Here's us doing it now out of a 3 down. So we'll do it with the stack guy. So now my stack guy is the penetrator. And my outside guy is the looper. Now, he's not doing a great job from what we, he's kind of waiting for this guy. So we taught this a little bit better that if this guy doesn't show up within, 1 second, just continue rushing outside because he was waiting on him to come. But again, at the end of the play, if we figured out the protection, we've made the quarterback, take a nice little hit, and we're going to live with them trying to complete that ball. That's the life I live as a cover one coordinator. Here it is again out of the stack. This kid times it up a little bit better. We actually there's no penalty here. It should be as a high-low, maybe not. But now we make this guard, who was a part of the slide side, all right, come and honor her over back to the man. It's actually going to, tear down their protection over here to the field. So here's out of a 6 down front. So I believe here we're playing cover 3. These dudes are going to drop out, and then we're running the stunt on both sides. So here's the man side. So this is 42, our linebacker. He knows the technique. Everyone in our program, chop, rip. It's not great. There's the post. And here's 93. All right, scrape and paint. You're going to see, again, you'll see it a lot. Arm overs, all right? Arm over our own guys, clubbing our own guys through. Again, it's not going to be great to the slide, but the one nice thing here is when you get shoved by this offensive lineman and you post, all right, and a new guy's coming in, it's going to take his eyes potentially, and if not, all right, we got a one-on-one here and we got a one-on-one. We've taken their slide and got rid of it.
Yeah, Coach, I love the point you make about, I know a lot of coaches worry especially if they're playing a mobile quarterback, them leaking outside the C gap, and not having that contained. But to your point, that B gap is naturally going to be and replace that C gap and edge defender.
Yeah, like that's just the thing you got to get out of your, in your mind, that let them rush. All right. Give them tools, their toolbox, talk to them about protections and how they break down, because every O-line coach in the country is going to teach, okay, you got him. Okay, we're sliding. Okay. They don't expect you to bring 2 guys off a slide, and they expect you to be gap sound. You don't have to be gap sound. And then a lot of things that we will do is, because we're playing a cover 1 defense with a 4-man rush, if the quarterback scrambles, I'm blaming on my linebackers because they have nothing to do. If the running back stays in, they have nothing to do other than watch that quarterback and handle that scramble. So here we're in our bear front, and we're actually 52 is going to own the running back, and this guy is going to drop and be my low hole player, which I'm an idiot because this kid led the nation in sacks, and I'm dropping him in coverage on 3rd and 9. But again, we feel like in the bear front, we'll either get big on big or full slide. But you see, we get here, chop, rip by 93. There's the post. All right, this kid just bull rushes, which we don't want. But he was a young freshman. And we're not getting a hit on the quarterback, but on 3rd and 9, he's airmailing this ball because he doesn't want to get hit, and he'd been hit a few times. That's the same clip. So now, all right, I probably got some O coordinators in the audience. Why don't you just run speed option? All right, we know when we're in our bear front and we're doing this and they're checking 16 or 16-0 or something, regards that our kids are smart. Again, they all have 30-some ACTs. They're all engineering majors. So when they hear somebody check something, we've kind of told them in different fronts what they might be checking. So here it is against speed option. And it actually plays out really nice once we get this guy down and trips on the turf. But we will just have the kids live with it on a run, all right? And we'll make the linebacker make us right. So not a perfect situation, but it's actually probably better that we were running this stunt. Because if we weren't and he cuts back there, he's probably got a nice gap. Here we got it to the boundary for sure. You might have it both sides. Yep, we got it both sides. So, again, this kid's kind of zeroing in on that tackle. We don't want that. We want to get your hands on this guy, make him think something, all right? Because at the end of the day, if you just go zeroing on this guy, he knows. Tell his buddy, hey, stunt, 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 all right? They can pass it off. Over here, they're doing better, but it's to the slide, so it's not going to be as great. but they're zeroing in on that shoulder. They're too worried about the post. And it's probably a bad thing because they've watched the film and they've seen the post work, and they haven't, necessarily, like, the chop rip hasn't been the part that's got us, but the fact that we chop rip to keep these dudes' attention is the big thing, and then the post. It's everything together. But as a coordinator, I love when they have to leave 6 in and you got 4 because now we got an extra guy in coverage, and we're actually playing 2-man. So this is great because now 18 sees the running backs blocking, and now he's a QB spy guy in a 2-man concept. Here it is over here. It's on both sides. We're going to get the man side over here. So this is what it would look at as a 2-eye. So now we're just going to stunt in the gap. All right. He's ripping, and then he never gets the post. But 91's decently vertical. I'd like him probably to take another step and scrape a little bit clean, but they don't get communicated the stunt, which is going to be pretty nice here. And then on the other side, all right, we don't get the chop rip. We get the post. 45, this is some younger kids at the end of the game. Doesn't come inside, but when 45 came inside, now he's kind of got that two-way go on the center in the protection. Here we're going quick, double 3 techniques. They actually pause, but a lot of these clips are in the fourth quarter when we're up and we're able just to kind of tee off on some people because we know that they're throwing. But again, if we have a good tendency that we know we're throwing, we really like this. So over here, we get a vertical set there by the center. Again, not great here on either of them on the chop rip. But the post is the key, all right? If you made this guy just worry about getting out here, we're going to get it there. We wouldn't have got the shot on the quarterback here. Here we go. Now we got it just over here to the boundary, to the right side. And then just the big things we've noticed is these guys just leaning on the 3 technique. And then obviously 99 coming in nice and tight. You can see he's throwing a move, club, arm over, because he anticipates the guy to be blocking him, but he doesn't. And then 26 drops it, complaining of offensive pass interference. This was a fun play. This won us our homecoming game 2 years ago. But it's just us playing cover 3 against quick game and our kid being patient. But this is what we will do. We will talk about if you're unblocked to continue outside. Now, I think these guys obviously well coached. They understand the stunt's probably coming because they've talked about it right now. This really doesn't get home, but it's fun always to throw a pick 6 on there. I don't know. Maybe my DB coach leaked that into the presentation. So this comes in a little bit late. I'll show it from the end zone. But the vertical penetrator, you get the chop right here. You can see it. Boom, chop, rip. All right. Now he's taken 2. That's great. You take 2 because eventually, all right, one guy's going to come off or maybe both. And not great to the slide, but I would say try to work this dude on the slide, all right, with his rules. They got to keep 6 in to block us, which is a good thing. And if we can hit the quarterback, they're keeping 6 in to block. I think that's a mental thing. But it's also nice that we got some extra defenders underneath some of these concepts here. We're just playing our man. Over here, we're playing like a cover 2 palms concept, but a man free is our general rule. And we get 2 linebackers in the middle of the field that have quarterback scramble if he leaves, and they're able to make the quarterback throw and put some air on it. If this dude was sitting there guarding the running back on like a green dog and adding on to the blitz, this is probably an easy completion. Because he's there, the ball's got to have a little bit of air on that, and it's incomplete there against one of the best air raid teams in the country, actually. Here it is again. again, everyone runs this stunt. I just think the way we run it with the chop rip and then the post. Now here's not great. It's to the slide side, and they actually do a nice job of throwing them out to the buddy. But here I think 33 puts the center in a little bit of conflict, but you got to be quick with it. You can't just come over here and bull rush. But to the man side, boom, chop rip, post. They're taking 2. If 40 was a little quicker here, vertical, all right. So let's see how many steps he takes. He false steps. 1, 2, 3. So he's 4. So he false step, took a kind of a false step at the top and around. And we'll show this onto him on film and say, if you wouldn't have had those 2 kind of false steps, it's 3rd and 10, and you got maybe a strip sack. We almost had an interception, and then we dropped it twice.
Coach, we had a question come through about, you talk about the two-way go for that looping player. Would you rather him go in the B gap or the A gap when he's looping through? Excuse me, the front side A gap or the back side A gap is what I think they meant.
Yeah, so I think you put the fear in God that you're going to the far A gap, the backside A gap from where you're going, and then you club him by, because then obviously in a slide protection, that guard by rule shouldn't be there to help. So you put the fear in God that you're going to go across the, as I coached offense here for the first 3 years. So we always said, against the rope, or, the center was the end of the rope. If you put the fear in God that you're going across that center thinks I got to go over there. Now you club in and you have that A gap all to yourself, because that's the whole part of the slide protection. The center has the A gap. All right. When you go over here to the A, now he could maybe pinball you into the other guys, and it turns in obviously to a slide. So I think that's the best way, but you got to look and see what this guy does maybe every week. If he's really set up good for that, then head fake him across, or head fake him here and then club him by and get through. I think that's more of a game plan than anything.
Sure.
Here again, we get a 6-man pro versus the 4-man rush. We end up, I think, getting an interception here. And here's a good example of I'm not freaking out. It's 3rd and 11. At the end of the play, the quarterback scrambles. It's going to be on this guy, all right, or that guy. You can see he's understanding the situation, knowing, hey, it's 3rd and 10. And then you just get your kids to play hard and rally. But let's see kind of how this broke down here. So there's the chop rip. There's the post. They actually do a nice job here. All right, now the tailback's sitting there for them, which is good. So it's almost like they got 2 dudes on both sides waiting for the looper. So your penetrator's got to be the guy that wins. And he's got to have a nice post. You can see 30 here, because the O-lineman did a nice job of shoving him. His post is kind of right here, and he's allowing himself to get held a little bit, where if he would have posted on that shoulder, he would have been able to get through a little bit. He's allowing himself to kind of get held. All right, that's not going to get called. That's, good coaching by that O-line coach. And then 54 is not great, because he just allows himself to get shoved outside, and this guy has nothing to do other than block his C-gap. There's the weird angle. So here it is again. And in this game, I think we had 4 sacks. This was the #1 passing offense in the nation. They kicked our butt the year before. Mount St. Joe, their offensive coordinator, does a heck of a job. But within the game, we found that we were getting after them with the stunt. So we kept after it. And we got hit once on a 25-yard run because we were stunting and they ran outside zone. But we kept after them. And I think this stunt right here affected this game. So here, just getting off the ball, this is the slide side, and we get the chop rip. And because we've hurt them on this is the first quarter on the second series, but I think we hurt them on the first series with this, that they're now communicating on the sideline what to do. So to the slide side, you shouldn't be good. And we're actually pretty good because this kid understands his rule. Again, you can't just say as a defensive coach, okay, that's the slide, we can't get there. See if their slide is disciplined. If their slide is disciplined, you're probably not in a great shape. But if you start seeing their slide, the guard not be disciplined and his eyes travel back, Well, try to stunt, man. Expose that, because the worst thing about a slide is everyone not on the same page, which is this situation. Like, he's trying to pass stuff off. This is a slide. Block that guy. He'll help you. And this guy's coming back for the, the center. Then on the other side, all right, we do a nice job. Chop, rip, post, scrape. And it's just a race to the QB. And on 3rd and 11, QB's got to get rid of it a little early. That's the same clip. Here it is again. Now we've just incorporated a blitz out of it. So it's almost like we're turning into bear. Corner drops that ball. But chop, rip. This guy does a nice job. He shoves us in. 51, if he would have posted, all right, rather than allowing that shove to absorb his chest, we're not good. On this side, all right, we don't really chop, rip. We're just bull rushing, which isn't good. But I get my freshman to come nice and tight around the horn, 43. He's got to be more vertical upfield. Like, he's just really quick. Like, these kids are just pinning their ear back and trying to go. But you got to get upfield, because you need him to kick. Because if you don't get him to kick, our chop, rip, post doesn't work, because there's no space. We need this tackle right here, so we have a shoulder to post on and get vertical. If that tackle's right there and you go right now, they're just going to wash him, and then he's going to have plenty of time for you. So I just got to talk to this kid about getting vertical upfield, getting the tackle on a different level. When they're on different levels, it's hard to pass things off. But good effort there, getting a hit on the cue. We just got to finish there with the pick. And as a freshman, we got to coach that kid up a little bit. Same game, same stunt. DB actually makes a heck of a play. So boom, chop, rip, post. That's pretty good. Great. All right, speed off the ball, get them on different levels, come nice and tight. And, we don't have all night, but I probably have 60 clips of this stunt, at least getting a sack or hitting the QB, that I can play for you guys. So the other thing, too, is if you want this presentation, I can send it to you. We probably won't get, but I have runs at the end of here, like 3rd and long runs. Here's this is actually interesting. Here's St. John's, excuse me. Here is the left. Oh, actually, it's not. This is their 2s. Sorry, we got our butts kicked. I was gonna say, here's the draft pick. We got a sack against him, but we got a face mask. But again, not great because we miss on our chop. We're not great because we don't get vertical upfield. This kid was all right getting vertical upfield, coming tight. And then 51 just missed on his post. He gets his right arm across here. But he's going to be the guy that affects this play. And then this is why we don't rely on our D linemen to keep contained, is for this reason. Like, at the end of the day, it's 56's job. That kid actually won the D3 Heisman 2 years ago. All right. Actually, that kid didn't. This is the backup. So go put your face mask in his chest. Here, we can set it to where we have only run it to a player. So in this situation, we're running it just the tailback because we think that is the man side. We can do it just away from the tailback. We could do it if we wanted, if there was a tendency to the tight. But there's chop, rip, post, underneath. And a nice job. So I think you guys get the basic understanding. It's in how you teach it. It's not necessarily everybody runs this. It's and we got this from Penn State back in the day, and that's how we've been doing it for 5 years. And it's a nice tool for our toolbox. Again, the thing that sets it up is we play a lot of double threes and run situations. So it's not always like, hey, they're double threes, they're getting into this pass stunt.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Coach, I know on my end I had 2 questions, and Ryan, I'm sure we'll check on Ryan's end after if he had any questions come through. First question that came through was just about, you touched on it briefly, just offensive plays that you see you mentioned speed option. Is there any other offensive plays that have hurt you in the past that you can think of at the top of your head?
Well, like within this stunt,
Yeah.
if they're going to run quick game and we're not going to get there, we're not going to affect it. Like that's one thing that you kind of, if it's 3rd and 4 and you're running this stunt and it's quick game, you kind of kick yourself at the end of the day because you're running loops and stuff and you're not getting home and the ball's getting out. So I would think it is just calling it situationally. The biggest thing is if the linebackers and the run fit are on a different wavelength as the D lineman in front of you against like an inside zone or a draw. Quarterback draw wouldn't necessarily be, I mean, it would be fine because I think the looper would affect maybe the QB and pull him up. But I would think like an inside zone, if you're a linebacker, if it's 3rd and 10 and he's really bailing out and you guys run the stunt and the running back ends up finding the open gap, that would be the toughest thing. But we've been pretty fortunate that anytime someone's ran it on 3rd and long, we've tackled them like 3rd and 15. We've tackled them for 12 yards and they punted. So that's probably been the best. But yeah, kicking yourself when you run that and it's quick game. Obviously, if we got hit this year, Coach Cash Dollar at Manchester did a heck of a job where it was 3rd and 7, and it was obviously a take 2 situation, and we were up, and I was greedy, and he ran power to it, and they gashed us for 40 yards on something where I was like, dang, I didn't think he was going to run power, but it's a take 2 situation. Why wouldn't you? And that's their best play. So, if you're stunting up and they're running some sort of counter power, that would not be good. So it's all about guessing, right?
Sure.
And then you got to tip your cap when that guy ran counter and you're telling your kids to pin their ears back and chop rip and do the technique that they're coached and they just called a better play.
Yeah.
So,
and that was actually the next question that came through. Just talking about running plays. Do you still have your player go on the loop course if they do identify its run right away?
Yeah. So we've done it 2 different ways. In the past, we've always told them before this year, if it is run and you're getting right out, to abandon the stunt. And I think that's what we'll try to get back to. Because last year I said we had some young kids that didn't understand, like, hey, I'm getting a base block versus this, we had a freshman start 10 games for us rather than this is a full slide protection. So we told the kids to run it no matter what. But going back, I would say, hey, abandon the stunt if you're getting hit on the chest right now and they're attacking you, because most likely it's going to be some sort of run. If they get us on a hard ball play action, well, our stunt's probably not going to be great on a shot anyway, where they're probably gapped up and it's a 6 or 7 man pro. So that's what we're going to go back to. This one time this year that hurt us on the gap play was one side stayed in their gaps and the other side looped, and the linebacker was on a different wavelength. So they're running gaps, creating gaps, and we were leaving our gaps. And I think on a situation where we should only have been out gapped by 1, we got out gapped 3 gaps, which isn't good.
Yeah, for sure.
Again, wide open.
Yeah. Again, the chat's open if anyone does have any questions. Ryan, did any questions come through on your end?
Yeah, the one that I had was, will you do any stuff off of like sim pressures off of this? Like, for example, like going into the boundary, bringing like a boundary outside linebacker and looping him from the outside into that A gap and then dropping an end off, or doing any sort of like exchanges like that with your D lineman, dropping into pass coverage?
Yeah, that stuff's pretty easy for us just because a lot of the stand-up 5 technique you saw in a lot of those clips, that kid is a linebacker for us. So I can put him to a tailback. We play majority man, but I can put him to the tailback and create a man matchup with him. If we're going to blitz off an edge, which was another part of that question, I would rather go to, we have a different stunt, which is like a penetrate right now, loop right now. Which we like better for the run, but we also like that better incorporated for the blitz. So the 3 technique is going to get a vertical charge. The 5 technique is coming under right now, and now we'll have an edge guy rushing the C. So if we're going to do that, bring a guy off the edge in some sort of blitz, we're going to go right now rather than stunt. If we're rushing 4, or one of those clips was us and 6 guys in line of scrimmage and bailing 2 guys out I think that's a sim rush.
Right.
We'll run our pass stunt. So
Got it.
we have two versions. So it's essentially what we call it is in Italy is all of our countries are stunts. So in Italy is the pass version, and in India is the run version or a blitz version, because India has an N, and it's the N tells them now.
Got it.
We have a perimeter version too, which mirrors that concept. So we're telling them, hey, this is the same stunt, but it's now for run. Hey, this is our pass stunt version of this.
Understood.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I'm just looking at the chat now. I'm not seeing any more questions come through. Ryan, you got any questions on your end?
No, I'm good here.
Okay. All right, Coach, appreciate your time as always. Coach Nick Davis, defense coordinator at Rose Holman. You can follow him at Coach Nick Davis, also at Spread Defense. Coach, appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me, guys. Stay safe out there, everyone. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right.
Perfect. And we'll be back every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern during the off season with another live clinic. We'll see you then.